All right, well, this is one of your final project demos where you're going to take two pictures and make a double exposure in using Photoshop and Lightroom. I'm in this demo, there's two ways you can do this project, and I'm going to show you both techniques. This one technique is taking two images and blending them over each other. That will be the second technique that I will show you, and then the first technique is taking like a singular subject matter, like a horse or a portrait, and overlaying a landscape over them. So this is the first technique I will show you, but just to show you some student samples of what students have done in the past for this assignment. Um, you can kind of see this one, I thought was pretty creative for it. This kind of putting two images. This actually might be three images on top of it. This is definitely two images. This won an award for student show 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So, and then this one 2 years ago. So, or last year, I should say. So yeah. So this assignment's been very popular, and students have done it pretty well. So let's go ahead and jump into Lightroom. I'm going to, you guys are going to go ahead when you shoot this project and get it done, import it into Lightroom, do all the, copy as DNG or copy it, adding your metadata, all that stuff. I don't think I have to review that. I do want you to make a contact sheet, so don't forget to do those steps. Let me just go ahead and show you that real quick. So contact sheet, going to click on print. You want to make sure you have the 4x5 contact sheet selected. Turn off the grid, click on printer, go save as PDF, and then go ahead and save it where you can find it to submit it for a grade. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that started. So I'm actually, for both of these demos today, I'm going to show you some pictures from Chile. I'm going to, let me go back to library. I'm going to go ahead and this penguin one and a wave picture. So I'm going to, oops. There we go. Grab the penguin one. Just make sure, these have already been edited because I edited them in when I first shot them, but I'm just going to bring down my highlights just a hair more. So, your first step obviously will be doing your global adjustments before you take them into Photoshop. So I know I want that picture. I'm going to kind of combine these. I want to use the waves in this one. So let me go ahead and just kind of bump up this one. This one has not been edited because I just decided to add this as one of my offshoots I didn't think I would use. But I really like the waves. It was a very interesting boat ride that we took when we were heading out there. So those pictures is going to be from one of my, for the one of combining two pictures, here we go, into using like a single subject. So the first technique. So I'm going to go ahead and go edit, open as a smart object. So your blank for that, let me actually get a new Word document going. For step number 5 is going to be as I opened, that went pretty fast. Let me go back to my Word. Smart object. And let me go ahead and also make that so you guys can read it. There, smart object. All right. Now I'm going to start off with prepping my. Actually, this did not open up as a smart object. Let me go back and do that the right way. It must have just said open up or edit in Photoshop. So go to hold down the option key, the command key, edit in, open a smart object in Photoshop. So that will try that again. And then my second picture I'm going to, all right, so that's opening. Okay, no big deal because I'm not going to do that. All right, let me also bring up my second pictures. The two second pictures I kind of want to use is this one and this one. But let me go ahead and actually I'm just going to, this is another offsite. I'm just going to sync the settings on that one. And then, yep, I'm just going to come in here and bring down my head. I'm actually just going to bump the exposure up just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up my next two pictures as well for this demo, just so they're already in Photoshop. And I don't have to worry about opening them up after the fact. So go click back onto Photoshop as that loads. All right, So let me go ahead and start off with the penguin picture. So this is my subject. I'm basically going to make him, single out him. So the first thing I'm going to do is go up to select a mask, and I want to get rid of the environment. I really don't want the background. So I'm just going to go up here, and the first thing I'm going to make sure change my view to overlay. Sometimes oil, onion skin is on, so if I hit the V key, it takes me to overlay. I kind of just prefer to work in this way. The keyboard shortcut for that is V. Oops. Your next blank is, I'm actually just going to go ahead and click by selecting subject. So Photoshop is, actually I'm just going to give you all the notes for this. I'm going to use the Refine Edge Brush tool, which is R. You can then change your, excuse me, got a little tickle in my throat. To use that because I do have an animal with fur. And then my output, I'm going to change that to layer mask. So those are your blanks for this part of it, and I'll just go ahead and show you. So I'm actually just going to select subject. Photoshop, it's gotten pretty smart. They have an algorithm. They call it the AI when I went to Photoshop World. That's pretty good at giving, that's a pretty good start off. If I'm actually going to come in here a little bit, and it did not grab the feet, probably because those were the same tones as the rocks. And you can kind of see it's having a hard time finding the feet, but that's okay. If you hold down the Option key, you can erase. So yeah, let me go ahead and type that note for you. But hold down the Option key and to erase from your selection. And then every time you kind of go over it, it gets a little bit smarter and smarter on what you want and don't want. So it didn't quite all the beak, probably because, again, the tone's pretty similar to the background. So that's pretty close. So let me go ahead and write that note. Option key erases selection. Alright, so I've got a pretty good selection going on here. Oh, I see that part didn't quite get in, so let me just clean that area up. Oh, zoom in a little bit more. I am going to select the Refine Edge Brush and just kind of go around the edges of this. That just kind of adds us a transition, kind of cleans up the beak a little bit. But down here, this is kind of where I really want to use a Refine Edge Brush because he has little hairs, his little furs. Pretty cute penguin. So go back to the quick selection brush to kind of clean up the feet a little bit. This doesn't have to be too perfect, but that's a pretty good start. Alright, so down in my output settings, and you can add smooth and feather all that, but I'm not too worried about that right now because this is just kind of a start. I want to make sure outputs as a layer mask, so I'm going to hit OK. And now I can come in with the brush tool, making sure my layer mask is selected, and I can clean up anything that I think doesn't look good. Like this is not so awesome, so I can just kind of come in. Sometimes to add transitions, I'll just do the brush edges, just so it looks a little bit smoother. Using the bracket keys to change the size of my brush. So I at home have a Wacom tablet, so that's what I'm using. Because I am editing on a laptop and I do not like the trackpad. Sorry, that's just my personal distaste for it. So I'm going to bring back some of this. I think that took out too much of his second wing. But maybe that went a little too far. Yeah, sometimes clean that up, but I'm going to bring back some of this. And it doesn't have to be too perfect because, again, this is going to be a double exposure. I just love the color of his eye. Isn't that so cool? That's his actual eye color. Probably catching some of the sun reflection in it. Okay. Oh, part of his spots in his wings went away. Okay, cool. So that looks pretty good. So I have my mask with that. Now I'm going to go ahead and because this is a smart object, we're going to add an adjustment. And you're going to be like, wait, Jen, you said, oh, let me actually select the image. You said never use image adjustments because it's permanent. Unless it's a smart object, wait until you see this. I'm going to make it black and white, and if I want to, I can come in here and, kind of play with the contrast. We'll kind of increase the yellows, maybe. Yeah, we'll go right there. That looks good. And because it's a smart object, it treats image adjustments like a smart filter. Isn't that interesting? So, I'm gonna, yep, that's right. So that, you know, that's pretty cool. That gets me a lot more options on what I can do here. All right, so the blank for that you had there was adjustments. So you're going to select for step number 8 will be adjustments. And the next thing I'm going to do, which I misspelled, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my landscape image. So step number 9, your blank is 50% for opacity. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to select my move tool, select my landscape image, and I'm not too worried for the fact that my landscape image and my subject matter are two different orientations, because really I'm just interested in this part of the wave. I'm going to go ahead and lower this so I can kind of get a sense of what part of the wave I can get into the picture. At this point I can also go Command T and do some free transforming. If I wanted it to seem bigger or smaller, you can kind of, I'm going to go like that, go right there. Now we have a couple choices here. If you want to, whoops, let me keep that 50%. If you want your double exposure just to be in the animal itself, like you want it to just be, you don't want it to be outside of your subject matter, then if you press the keys Command Option G, it makes this layer into a clipping mask, and it will, if you notice, just clip it to that. And the great thing about that is I can fine-tune where the wave is happening, because I can move the image and it doesn't matter because it's a clipping mask. So your blank for step number 10, or I apologize, step number 11 was Option G. So if you're like, no, I'm pretty happy, I don't want the second image to bleed out from the first image, go with this option. If you want the landscape picture to kind of show like you want to see more of it in this whole trial run, then you're going to want to do this other step where you want to basically copy this mask onto this layer. So there's a couple ways you can do it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over my penguin mask. I'm going to hold down the Command key, click, and it activates that selection. You can see the lovely dancing ants. And now I can come over here and just add a layer mask. And now I have two masks. And this is just initially. I'm going to play with this mask more. But one thing is, if I move my layer, it's going to see how now it moves the mask and everything. So whoops, go back. So you definitely want to be happy with what you see in the double exposure if you're going the mask route. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and return my landscape picture to 100% and be like, oh, I lost my penguin, I'm so sad. No worries, we're going to fix that. All right, with my landscape picture selected, and in fact, I'm just going to go ahead and call this landscape, and I'm going to call this subject. Whoops. Just in case there's no confusion, you guys can see. All right, I'm going to have my landscape selected. I'm going to go up to image adjustments again, and I'm going to do a curves adjustment. And it's going to work, again, just like it did, and I'm going to do a pretty significant S-curve, because this is going to be double exposure. If you have anything white in your picture, it's really cool, like a cloud, like this is going to look really awesome. So I'm going to do a really snazzy curves adjustment layer. If you have white sky, you can go ahead and make it white and it will actually disappear. And now I'm going to go ahead and I have a couple options. I can select my blending mode to multiply or lighten. So again, this kind of becomes a creative choice. I'm going to go with multiply because I like what it does with the penguin. But again, and you can, if you want to change it to a different blending mode than what I recommend, go for it. Like this is kind of, that color burn looks pretty cool. Like this is creative, this is fun. You know, that the only way you get to know these blending modes is by using them. Alright, so your two blanks for 13 was changing the blending modes. The two that I like is either multiply or lighten. So those are your two blanks in that part. Oh, and I realized in the first part of it says image adjustment. The first blank you have there is going to be curves. So I got so excited I forgot to give you guys the notes. Alright, so what I am going to do is another step that I'm going to do on my landscape image, and I'm just going to go ahead and give you the blank for step 14, is I'm going to go back up to image adjustments and I'm going to select selective color. And then I'm going to, the blank underneath that is minus 100%. So let me go ahead and show you what that's going to do. That's going to help with if you're like, this looks too much, too black to white. We're going to fix that. It's So go Image, Adjustment, Selective Color. Under Colors, I'm going to click on this and select White, and I'm going to bring this black to -100%. So you can kind of see it kind of makes it take out anything that you're like, ooh, your curve is too strong, and kind of helps fix that mistake a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and go down to my layers. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see. I'm going to select on my subject layer, and I'm going to duplicate that layer with Command J. So that is, your blank is J. That duplicates a layer. Sorry, gotta get to my notes. All right, and now I'm going to move my second subject. Well, let me give you the next few blanks too. So where it says filter high pass, I'm going to do 30 to 50 points, and then change the blending mode to overlay. So those are your blanks for step number 16. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and move this subject above my landscape. This is pretty important because you'll see what happens. Now I'm going to delete the black and white adjustment layer. And don't worry, you're like, oh no, the color. No worries. Because we're gonna go up to filter and add a high pass filter, we're basically going to give it something pretty strong. We'll go right there. And now I can come in here and I can do overlay. And this just kind of helps make the penguin seem more contrasty. So if you're like, oh, that's too strong, you can just double click because it's a smart filter, and I can pull back on my high pass filter. So, but anyway, I think it's looking pretty good. I can also, if I feel like it's too strong, I can also come in here and just minimize the layer opacity. Alright, so I'm going to go back to my landscape picture. If you did the clipping mask, this would be where you will add a layer, mask layer, to your landscape picture, because if I wanted to, I could come in here and let's say I don't like what's happening with the beak, or there's some area that I want to come in and I want to bring more of, I'm going to bring this down, more of what is underneath, like the penguin itself. So if there's any part of the picture that you want to bring more penguin out and less of the other exposure, you can come in and kind of mask it. And what I'm doing actually is I'm kind of masking it with a very low opacity, so you still see the waves and stuff. But I can kind of come in here. If you have a person, you could come in and mask away so we can see their features better. That's what I've seen in other tutorials. So another thing that I'm going to do, because I want to show more of the water, I'm going to come in here with, and this is not in your notes, so you just might have to make some notes if you want to do this, but I'm going to come up here, I'm going to add a kind of a elliptical marquee. And the reason why is now what I can do is with my brush tool, if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to bring in some more of that water, and I am going to increase this, maybe let's go up to 40%. I can, but I want it to be a certain shape. I don't want it, I want it to kind of look like that. What happens is as I'm bringing back in that mask, I'm protecting what I don't want to happen. And, I can kind of come in here and make this as strong as I want. I can do it at 100% or we'll try that. So now I can kind of show more of that second image in the picture. Now this is totally optional. It's up to you whether or not you want to do this. This is something I'm interested in doing just for the fact that I don't know. I thought it looked weird just having the penguin with the, because the penguin's just adding extraness to it. So I'm on step number 18 in your notes. So I'm going to click on this upper layer, and now I'm going to add a gradient mask adjustment layer. So, and what this allows me to do is this, if you notice, it kind of adds a tone to it. So in your notes, it says you can use photographic toning, and I think that's something they've taken out in the new version. So what I did was I just, you can just pick some, actually I think I went to, let's see if I go to basics, I can go with blues. Again, this is optional. If you like it, you can not like it, it's totally fine. You maybe go cloud. I think, I'm trying to remember which, I liked the one I had, so I'm just going to go back up to the one I had. You can also, the reason why I recommend adding this is it just kind of adds And I like to lower the opacity a lot, but just kind of adds a little bit of cohesiveness over it. And it will make more sense when you get to, and I can also come in and add another curves adjustment layer in here just to kind of like pop up the color a little bit too. But step number 20, which you can do step 20 out of order if you wanted to, but I'm going to come down here. I'm going to add a new blank layer. I want it to go underneath my subject layer. See if I'll let it get me down there. Okay, maybe I'll just do that. And this is going to be my background. So now what I can do is I want to add a background color so I can, you know, maybe take a tone from here, maybe just go a little bit lighter, maybe a color of the water, and maybe I want to do a gradient as my background, and then, you know, and maybe that's a little too colorful. Maybe I just don't want it to be that bright, so I can kind of tone this down a little bit, or I can pick lighter colors. So you can kind of see, like, that's why I went with the oval, just because I thought it showed more picture, and you could see the waves and a little bit of the background of the boat ride we took when we went to go see the penguins. So that is how you can do basically the one double exposure reason. And now let me go ahead and show you the next technique, which is how to take two pictures and blend them together, and more of what you might people think of as a double exposure typically looks. So image blending basically. So again, you're going to import your pictures, select the two you want to work on, do your global adjustments, open them up as Smart Object, and then you're kind of pick the picture you want it to be your main picture that you want to kind of show off. So I think I'm going to go with this one. So this is kind of my subject and then my background image that I have it in my notes. So I'm going to go ahead under my subject image. Again, I'm going to go up to image adjustments and add a curve. Even though I think I have a pretty strong curve, but you kind of want it to look more than you expect, because you're going to be putting two images together. So we'll start there, and it's a smart filter, so I can go back and edit it. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate my subject image, and I'm going to rename this one Silhouette. And the reason why is I'm basically going to be creating two different masks that help basically this is the main image I want to show over the other image, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to go ahead with my subject. I'm going to turn this one off for a second. With this one, I'm going to go up to Select and Mask, and I'm going to make sure my mode is turned to Overlay, and I'm just going to, so that's your V key. I'm just going to go ahead and hit Select Subject and see what it does. I'm kind of interested in the person and the boat, so let's see. Not too bad. It definitely picked out the person, but I'm just going to go ahead and kind of select the boat too. Just come over here with the quick selection tool. Didn't get all of the person. But, you know, that's okay. And then zoom in a little bit. Is that part of it? Yep, that's part of the boat. Okay, hold down the Option key to get rid of this water again. I would say, like, when it comes to Photoshop and compositing, the big thing is really understanding how to work with masks, because you want to be able to have the ability to go back and add something, because composite working is kind of like painting. You kind of want to think about it as you're working on a layer and you're kind of adding to it and taking your time, looking at things, you know, taking a break from your work and then coming back and playing with it some more or tweaking it some more. You kind of need to do that when you are doing that kind of work. So like when I did the mod series with my wooden hand, I would spend a week on a picture, like working on it on and off. And if I wasn't masking as well as I would get frustrated. So masking just, you know, helps me finesse the overall look without having to worry about, oh, I deleted that and now I have to start over. So take it from, like, learn from my experiences. Anyway, I'm going to come up here and go around the hair real quick. I don't think this person was part of our group. There was a couple people on this trip that that were on the boat that was not part of our group, and I think this was one of the people that were stuck with a whole bunch of photography students. I know. All right. So again, I'm going to make sure my output is the layer mask. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm not too worried about this is not perfect. I can clean that up really quick. So let me go ahead and select my brush. And also, what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to separate my tonalities. So even if the mask isn't perfect, it's not the end of the world, because you guys will see how you don't see everything in the double exposure, all these details. But I'm going to clean up this part because this needs to be cleaned up. Maybe I'll just get rid of this red part too. If I was doing this as a final project to turn into a professor, I would spend more time on this, I will be honest. But for the sake of this demo, and so that you guys aren't, this is probably getting to be pretty long as is. So, okay, awesome. So there's my boat. Don't see the water. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and, again, I'm going to click on my silhouette. I'm going to turn that on real quick. I'm going to hover over my subject mask, and I'm going to go ahead and click, and it's going to make a selection. But I want to inverse the selection. So I can go up to select, inverse, or that is also shortcut keys wise, shift, maybe. Let me go ahead and inverse this. Shift, Command, I will inverse your selection too. So nope, won't let me type that note, but I will in a second. So now I'm going to add a layer mask to my silhouette, and you can see now that, and I have a little bit of some weirdness going on. No worries. Let me go ahead and I can add that stuff back in. Any of these lines, I can just kind of clean them up a little bit. Yep. Just going to go over, and actually I'm going to go over with a little bit bigger brush to get rid of these weird edges. And this will all make sense when you see it all together. So I'm just going to go around. Pretty good. Okay, it's kind of fast and quick and dirty, but no big deal. Okay. All right, so with the Move tool, I'm going to select the Move tool, and I'm going to copy my second image over into this picture. So it is a little bit smaller just for the fact that I actually cropped this from the original. So I am going to free transform and make this a little bit bigger. And for me, what I liked is this part. Now, I am going to, let me go ahead and, I am going to rotate this layer. Let's see if I can remember how to do that. So, because I actually kind of want it flipped the other way. So let me see here. Transform, and I'm going to do a flip horizontal. Because I want the rope to I want it to be juxtaposition next to my subject person. So luckily there's no writing and it doesn't matter. Okay, so I have my second picture in here. And I'm going to go ahead and move this layer beneath my silhouette. So layer wise it should be silhouette, other picture, and then my subject matter. So it's good. See if I can get my Word document. All right, so for step 13 out of this step, it was Shift, Command, I. And then now I'm down to step 14. I'm going to lower my second image's opacity, 40 to 60%, just so I can kind of see my person standing there a little bit more. And then, Alright, so let me go ahead and lower this to 40 to 60%, so you can kind of see. And actually, now that I think about it, maybe I don't want that image to be. Let me go back to the Edit Transform. Let me go back to flipping it horizontal. Maybe I do want the rope part to kind of be. Yep, I think that actually looks cooler. Okay, see, this is all just a work in progress. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and see here, select my subject layer. And I'm going to change this blending mode to overlay. I'm going to select my silhouette layer, and I'm going to change this blending mode to screen. And now you can kind of see how that second image is popping up. So let me type out those two blanks. So for step 18, it was overlay, was that blending mode, which is your subject layer. For step 19 for your screen, for your silhouette, it's going to be a screen blending mode. And then my last, and then I can kind of play around with, again, maybe I want to see more of that rope, maybe less. You can kind of play around with that a little bit. But I am going to come and add a new blank layer. I'm going to put it underneath, and this is going to be my background layer. And I am going to go ahead and make this layer white. And the reason why is now it definitely gives you that effect that you get with, and if I want to, I can lower this if it's too strong. But double exposures, when you see them, they kind of have this white effect to them. So maybe, actually, I just want to, maybe this is too strong so you can't see the subject. But then now it's just adjusting your layer opacities and kind of playing around with to the effect you want. So for step number 2, the blank is white. Now, for either technique that you use, you do need to have finishing touching of adding a sharpen with a smart filter. So to create a composite layer, it's 4 keys, Command, Shift, Option, E, that you press at the same time. So I'll go ahead and you want to make sure you're on your uppermost layer, Command, Shift, Option, E. Now it's going to make a composite layer. I'm going to call this Sharpen. And then we're going to go up to Filter. And this one, if you remember, I did a couple lectures or a couple demos ago that went through all the different types of sharpening you can do: unsharp mesh, sharpen mar, high pass. I like high pass, but not that much. So I'm going to go a little bit strong. So I'm going to select high pass, select overlay, and now I have my sharpening layer. So also, when you guys, I should have done an image size. I do want you to resize these images to be 12 inches on their longest side. That will get like an 8 by 12. These files are probably going to not, I'm probably going to have you guys submit them a little bit different. So I'll have instructions on how to submit your final project files as well. So, oh, you know what? I messed up. You know what I messed up? Let me go back. Oh my goodness. All right, sharpen. I forgot to convert it to a smart filter. So I have to go back, convert it to a smart filter. So, hey, we all make mistakes. And now since I'm converting to a smart filter, let me go ahead and do my image size. So I'm going to make sure that my longest is 12 inches at 300. There we go. And now let me go ahead and select high pass. So, and lower it a little bit. Okay. Haha. Well, hey, I did not hit save and did not close my file. But if you would have turned it in without converting it, I would have been like, there's not a smart filter. Anyway, but yeah, so, but yeah, that's your part 1 of your final project. And I hope you guys have fun with it, make some pretty pictures, do something kind of fun and cool. And I will have a video on how to do part 2, which is going to be the little person in a new landscape. So, yeah, have fun, guys.